So see the first question. What is the first question? Is it matching with our question? Examine critically the recent changes in the rule governing foreign funding of NGOs under the FCRA Act 1976. So basically this question belongs to 2015. So they are asking you about 2015, but then there were certain changes in 2020 also. So for this question, you have to write the latest changes with regard to the amendments or changes in the FCRA Act. What is FCRA Act? Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. What is this act basically used for? It is used for monitoring and regulating the foreign contributions across India, and with sometimes special focus on NGOs. It is not only for NGOs. Basically, FCRA is applicable for anyone who's getting a lot of foreign funds, okay, foreign contributions. Okay. See the question. Critically, examine critically the recent changes in the rule governing foreign funding of NGOs under the FCRA Act. So basically, you have to say what are the positives of this act, and then what are the shortfalls of this act, and then need for empowering the NGOs, and then conclude. This would be my answer. The moment you understood the question, basically the answer is the positive aspects of this act, the drawbacks, don't call them negatives because it's a government act, drawbacks of this act, and then conclude. Is it clear, everyone? And then the need for empowering NGOs, and conclude. That would be my model answer, or the framework. First, we'll try to understand the framework, and then the model answer will automatically flow into the framework. It's like a dye. Once you make the dye, whatever liquid you pour into the dye, it becomes like a hard shape of that particular dye. So when you have the framework in mind, the content is only coming automatically and fitting into that framework. So is the framework clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the first aspect of the question is the recent changes with regard to the FCRA Act. So he has introduced saying that India is the 6th largest recipient of foreign aid. Venkateshwari, what I am trying to say is the framework is, first we have to write the changes of the act. Okay. Then the positive changes of the act, drawbacks of the changes in the act, need for empowering the NGOs, and then conclude. Okay. So the India was basically, he's saying India is the 6th largest recipient of foreign aid, and in 2011 it continues to be. Okay, fine. Okay, why are you writing about 2011, Jitendra? It's a question in 2020.
Yes, I mistaken it. I referred old data.
Okay. You can write, okay, but your intention is good. You can write that FCRA funds have been received so many in the last 1 year, and India stands at this place, and a lot of funds have been received by NGOs also. Then what are the recent changes to FCRA? Okay, so basically what it does is, the FCRA, it makes the Aadhaar as mandatory for registration of NGOs. Okay, that is one important aspect of this thing, recent amendment. And then the transfer of funds is no more very easy. Okay, the transfer of funds has to be made only through the registered accounts across the banks. And once the account has to be registered, it has to follow the KYC norms. Okay, and then there certain, basically the first point, like not everyone is now entitled to get the funds from the foreign accounts. Okay, there are certain restrictions, and only identified accounts or identified personnel can get the funds from the foreign account. Okay, and then the transfer of, and the limit, the transfer limit, basically the previous was that 20% only can be transferred now. That is true for the administrative purpose. So basically for this, you need to know the FCRA Act. Okay, only then you will know what are the changes pertaining to that act. So the changes which are mentioned are only specific to 2020 amendment. That is over and above the existing act. What were the previous allowed things, and now what are the allowed things, and if there are any restrictions, what are the latest restrictions is the question. Okay, and then what is the, now we have discussed the changes for FCRA Act in 2020. What is the significance of these changes? Basically, there has been continuous accusation on the NGOs that they are misusing the funds which are received from the foreign players to disrupt the administration in India. Okay, so that is one of the motive of the government, to channelize the funds and to formalize the receipt of funds instead of any black channels or hawala mechanisms. Now they have to receive the funds through proper bank funds, bank accounts. So everyone will know from which country and from which private firm or public firm the funds are received into the NGOs accounts. And then to strengthen the national security, because we all know that the global economy is now volatile and the global political stage also is volatile. In that context, the national security can be threatened by the flow of foreign funds, and hence the need of national security is ensured by tightening the mechanisms for the FCRAs. And then basically by bringing in the KYC norms for the NGOs and linking them to Aadhaar card, reducing the transfer limit and all, we are trying to bring in the transparency and accountability for the functioning of NGOs, because for long the transparency and accountability of NGOs has been a very big demand across India in the governance system. So these are the positive aspects of the changes to the FCRA bill. What are the drawbacks? Okay, Jitendra, you need to be more elaborate with your side headings. While your points are making good sense, you are giving significance, misuse, issues. So be specific. Okay, like I am taking class to you, you don't take class to the examiner. Okay.
Yeah, sir, I'll make it as a drawbacks.
You have to be more elaborate in your side headings. Drawbacks with the FCRA amendment. Okay, 2 words raste tappem ledu. Okay, just put more energy, and then because people who are writing good answers should go to the next level. Don't get saturated at that level. Okay, good, better, best, and then beyond the best. So that is the aim. So now we are only still in the transition of average to good. So to go to best, it will take at least 6 months. So if you think good is okay, then you will again come back to worse. Okay, so next, try to go to the next level. So with regard to the issues with this amendment are, okay, basically the KYC norms, bank limit, these all affect the functioning of NGOs and supply their funds. So sometimes the NGOs are choked for money. They are in desperation for money, but they are not finding any money, because now their administrative caps are now set 20%. So expenses are limited. And it is basically against the freedom of operation of NGOs. So is this being done to all NGOs or only selective NGOs is again an issue. NGOs sometimes are a voice of dissent. So the freedom of expression and speech is being suppressed. Okay. And there is lack of clarity as to on which NGOs this particular is applicable and not. So only NGOs which are against government or NGOs with the government, all these are not very clear with regard to the amendment of FCRA bill. And then you can conclude that NGOs are the oxygen for the civil society. NGOs are oxygen to the civil society, and they have to be taken hand in hand for better governance and to make sure that the governance reaches the last mile. The need of the hour is to ensure that all the NGOs are given enough freedom and space to operate for the betterment of the nation. Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.